You might think you live in a time of relative peace, but the reality is you are surrounded by hidden conflicts every single day. From childhood, we are taught that the path to success is through consensus and harmony. We are told to fit into the group and value cooperation above all else. But this training leaves us defenseless when we encounter the passive aggression of a colleague who offers help that never comes, or the subtle sabotage of a supposed ally. Without a plan for these daily frictions, we react as emotional tacticians, lashing out or retreating blindly, which only serves to hand control of the situation to our opponents. To stop being a victim of these circumstances, you have to abandon the illusion of a peaceful world and deliberately adopt the mindset of a grand strategist. That mindset begins with the polarity strategy. Before any physical or social battle can take place, you must identify your poles. You cannot find your direction if you refuse to see who is standing in your way. Identifying an opponent is the mandatory first step towards psychological clarity. Margaret Thatcher was a master of this maneuver. She used her opposition as a whetstone, drawing sharp lines to define her boundaries and consolidate power. Think of a defined enemy as a polar star. Once you have them in your sights, you gain the emotional energy and rational focus required to stop reacting and start planning. Friction and opposition are not obstacles to be feared. They are the essential fuel that gives a strategist their power. Once you know who you are fighting, the natural instinct is to charge their strongest point. But attacking a massive entity head-on is a waste of energy that forces you to fight on their terms. Instead, you must locate their center of gravity. Every large entity relies on a single, hidden nerve center. This center is rarely obvious. It might be a politician's base of support, a company's cash reserves, or a leader's confidence. During the American Civil War, General William Tecumseh Sherman realized the South's true center of gravity was not its army, but Atlanta's industrial protection. By striking that industrial hub, he rendered the South's military strength irrelevant. The outward armor of the Confederacy couldn't hold because its support system had collapsed from within. True strategic power comes from applying precise pressure to a single critical vulnerability rather than matching an opponent's brute force. But what do you do when an opponent's center of gravity is entirely unreachable, or they simply possess overwhelming scale? You turn to the strategy of the void. This is the counterintuitive approach of refusing to engage, dissolving your presence, and offering the enemy absolutely nothing to hit.
While a conventional warrior wants a quick, decisive battle, the guerrilla strategist uses the void to drag out time and expand the theater of war. T.E. Lawrence successfully weaponized this detachment in the Arabian desert. He utilized the vast, silent spaces to exhaust conventional armies that were trained only for traditional lines of engagement. This takes a massive psychological toll. As the giant opponent swings at the air, they grow increasingly irrational and exhausted by the lack of contact. By weaponizing emptiness, the smaller force compels the giant to defeat itself through its own unspent, aggressive momentum. The ultimate purpose of studying these mechanics is not to become a bully. It is to master the art of extreme, detached rationality. The path is clear. Define the enemy for clarity, locate their hidden weaknesses, and absolutely refuse to fight on their conventional terms. Mastering these steps shifts the dynamic of your life. Instead of being a reactive victim of the friction around you, you gain the ability to determine the overall pace and shape of any conflict you face. Author Robert Greene distilled these principles from the greatest historical minds to create a universal framework for modern survival. The grand strategist achieves the ultimate goal of conflict. They secure a lasting peace because they have already won the war before the first battle even begins.